Lewis Hamilton and Martin Brundle were furious after the controversial decision made by the FIA at the Mexican Grand Prix sparked a storm of criticism across the racing world. In statements that shook the paddock, both accused the FIA of losing its way and undermining the fairness of the competition. Hamilton even claimed that the decision was not just a technical error, but proof of the inconsistencies that drivers have complained about for a long time. Could this be a turning point that changes the relationship between drivers and Formula One's highest authority? Let's discuss. It seems that the Mexican Grand Prix isn't over yet. In fact, a storm of controversy began to shake the world of Formula One after the race. Two influential figures, Lewis Hamilton and legendary commentator Martin Brundle, made strong statements that immediately shook the FIA, the highest authority in world motor racing. It all started with the stewards' controversial decision to impose a 10-second penalty on Hamilton, which effectively destroyed the Ferrari driver's chances of reaching the podium. However, the situation became even more heated when the FIA later admitted that Hamilton had not violated the official race director's notes. In a post-race interview, Hamilton could not hide his frustration. In a firm but unemotional tone, he accused the FIA of applying double standards in the enforcement of rules. "How can I get such a heavy penalty when they themselves admit there was no violation? This isn't about luck, it's about a lack of fairness," he said firmly. For Hamilton, the decision was about more than just losing a position. He described it as a symbol of a system that has lost its way. He believes that the FIA often imposes selective penalties, sometimes harshly and sometimes leniently, depending on who is involved. Ironically, just minutes earlier, Max Verstappen had been seen veering off the track at the first corner and even driving on the grass, yet he received no warning. This disparity in treatment disappointed Hamilton further. "I just want the same rules for everyone. It doesn't matter who the driver is or what car they're driving. Fairness should be non-negotiable," he said. Veteran analyst Martin Brundle also highlighted the FIA's strange decision on Sky Sports F1, as did Hamilton. Using his analytical expertise, Brundle concluded that, while the FIA had correctly applied the written procedures to Hamilton, they had failed miserably in the most important aspect: consistency. According to Brundle, Verstappen also deserves an investigation for his extreme manoeuvre at the opening corner. He concluded that the Red Bull driver had no intention of taking the corner properly, instead choosing the grass strip to maintain his position. In a fair system, Verstappen should have received a drive-through penalty. However, no action was taken at all. This proves that Formula One rules are not applied universally, Brundle asserted. He also noted that many other drivers went off track on the first lap, yet none were penalised. He argued that this is the root of a major problem within the Formula One refereeing system. You can't enforce the rulebook selectively. It's either all or nothing. Brundle said sarcastically. Public outrage flared when the FIA released an official clarification of the controversial decision made during the Mexican Grand Prix. In the statement, the FIA stated that Lewis Hamilton was not penalised for going off track per se, but rather for gaining a sustained advantage. However, the agency's internal report also stated that Hamilton was unable to follow the correct escape route due to the high speed and slippery track conditions. This meant that it wasn't entirely the driver's fault. This contradiction immediately sparked a wave of criticism. Many believe that the FIA is trying to twist its rationale in order to justify a decision that has already been made. Some analysts even describe the clarification as more defensive than transparent. Social media exploded with the hashtag #FIAfavoritism trending immediately, with thousands of comments accusing the FIA of once again favouring Max Verstappen, a sensitive issue that has long plagued Formula One. Ferrari boss Frédéric Vasseur also spoke out, adding pressure on the FIA. In a post-race interview, he described the decision as poorly managed and unreasonable from a sporting standpoint. Lewis lost time in the incident. He gained no advantage, yet it was he who was punished, while Verstappen remained untouched. "It was an imbalanced decision," said Vasseur. Following statements from Hamilton, Brundle and Vasseur, the FIA is now under intense public scrutiny ahead of the 2025 season. Amidst the chaos, Max Verstappen attempted to defuse the situation, but his comments only served to exacerbate it. "I think the FIA made the right decision. If others disagree, that's none of my business," he said coldly. This statement further angered Hamilton fans, especially when Red Bull boss Christian Horner added, "Max is criticised just because he's faster. Sometimes people look for scapegoats when they lose." However, F1 analysts believe that these comments only serve to tarnish the image of the FIA, making it seem as if certain factions are always safe from punishment. A few days after the Mexican Grand Prix, representatives from several teams, including Ferrari, McLaren and Alpine, requested an emergency meeting with the FIA to discuss inconsistencies in their stewardship. One of the issues raised was the request for every penalty decision to be accompanied by video evidence and a public explanation, similar to the VAR system in football. The FIA is reportedly holding an extraordinary meeting in Geneva next week to evaluate the stewarding system. However, many are sceptical that this move will result in real change. Former world champion Damon Hill described the incident as a turning point for modern Formula One. When both a world champion and a legendary commentator question the integrity of the system, it's a major red flag. Formula One is losing its credibility. Meanwhile, Jenson Button believes that the FIA needs to review all decisions from the last 3 races, as a pattern of inconsistency is becoming increasingly apparent. Several major sponsors, including those that support major teams, are reportedly pressuring Formula One management, FOM, to ensure greater transparency and fairness in future. With the Brazilian Grand Prix at the Interlagos circuit approaching, tensions in the Formula One paddock are reaching boiling point. The controversy surrounding the decision in Mexico has yet to subside, and a shadow of dissatisfaction now hangs over the atmosphere ahead of the next race. Lewis Hamilton is reportedly planning to raise the issue at a GPDA meeting alongside other top drivers. This is seen as a subtle form of resistance to the FIA's unclear policy direction. Their primary goal is clear: to push for real reform of the rules enforcement system, ensuring transparency and consistency in steward decisions going forward. Meanwhile, the FIA has attempted to calm the turmoil through an official statement. They have promised to review steward assessment procedures and conduct a thorough evaluation of the decision-making standards that have been implemented. However, no deadline or concrete steps have yet been announced. "We will evaluate the situation thoroughly," the FIA wrote in a brief statement. Hamilton's anger, Brundle's sharp analysis, Ferrari's robust backing and the intense public scrutiny are coming together to form a storm that cannot be ignored. Formula One is at a crucial historical crossroads that will determine its future. Will it reform, uphold justice and restore confidence in the sport? Or will it continue to be plagued by controversial decisions? Share your thoughts below.